So really quick before we begin, for Rob Machado, myself, all of us at Firewire Surfboards, it's a pleasure to be here tonight at HSS. HSS is kind of a second home for us in Orange County. We're based in Carlsbad, California, but all of us, whenever we come through town or whenever we head north, we always come in here to Huntington Surf Sport. The main reason we're here tonight is to talk about the Machadocado, your all-new surfboard design that's been out for about a month now. And our inspiration at Firewire was this Instagram post that you posted in 2012. 2012. Do you remember posting this on Instagram?
I do. 2012 was the early years of Instagram. Who was on Instagram in 2012? Yeah? Schultz. I knew he would be. You had to be on point. I don't know who tipped me off, but I was on Instagram. That was back when you posted food and sunsets, and you had like 20 followers, and they were your friends, and it was cool, right? So I was lucky enough to visit Instagram headquarters after they were purchased by Facebook. And I went to Facebook. It was like a city somewhere in like
San Francisco
area. It's like they have their own zip code. And we walked onto the campus, and it's wild. It's super wild. There's like free food everywhere, and there's a gym and a basketball court and all kinds of stuff. And we walked in this one building, and they said, yes. It was literally like the size of this little room right here, and they said, this is our Instagram section. All 14 people here. We brought them in. And I was like, wow, yeah, Instagram's cool, man. And they're like, I know, we figured it out.
And in this picture, you just cut an avocado in half and felt so moved, you posted it to the internet. Let's talk about the inspiration for a second behind the Machadocado, which, by the way, we have two of them behind us. How did you make that connection between an avocado and the shape of a surfboard?
That's good. That's a good question. I think there's just something like the moment when you cut into an avocado and you open it up and it looks like that. Like, that's a pretty happy moment in my life. And to start my day off with a couple eggs and an avocado like that, I'm off to a good start. So it's like the inspiration starts right there. Is just the simplicity of something that brings you happiness.
And you also are very visual when you look at the outline of a surfboard. And you've kind of talked about how like things just suit your eye and you like that.
That's true, yeah. I mean, I can't say that it looks exactly like an avocado, but it's more about just lines that are pleasing when you sit back and look at something, that it just looks good and makes you want to put it under your arm and check it out.
Well, you mentioned lines that are pleasing. We actually have some unreleased surf clips playing on the TV right now. These are clips showing you riding the Machadocado at home in Cardiff-by-the-Sea, California. What about the performance characteristics of the Machadocado? When you were designing this, what was the feeling you were seeking?
On the heels of, the Two Fish, before that, we had the Seaside. Been riding a lot of kind of wider tail swallows, twin fin quads. I haven't really, explored the thruster realm, and this felt like it was a really good blend of bringing a thruster and those fishier boards together. If you want to call it the hybrid world, and just trying to really kind of grab the speed that those boards generate, but then still have that maneuverability that you get with a thruster and that back fin. So I think that was the general idea.
You seem like you're on this constant quest for the perfect hybrid, like a board that will go as fast as a fish, but still turn like a shortboard.
Yeah, I think as you get older, you're like, I still want to ride a shortboard and try and shred, but I don't want to have to work so hard to get speed and get the momentum that I need. So it's like creating boards that make it easier for you to just get up and go.
Yeah.
But then when you get that chance to, have a little flashback to your 20s You can still do a turn, right? Stomp on the tail and let one loose.
Well, you talk about shredding and you talk about your 20s. We have this video of you. I'm going to kill the audio on this. We have this video of you surfing with Jackson Dorian together with the Machadocado at Upper Trestles. And this is a session, obviously, you go way back with Shane Dorian, and to surf with his son Jackson here. What was this like for you to see Jackson ride the Machadocado, a board you designed, and to share that session with him?
Yeah, it was wild. I've obviously seen him grow up since he was born, and an incredible surfer. Obviously passed down from his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Good friend of mine, amazing surfer as well. So to be in the water with him was super cool. And dude, watching him ride that thing, and you watch this video, it was so impressive. I mean, just the way he was flying all over the place. He caught 100 waves that day. I maybe caught 10, And
you did an air though. How was that?
Yeah, backside airs. I went right. That's a rare moment. So it was just really cool to see him ride like a hybrid kind of let's call it almost like a fun board for him, and to push the level of performance was just really intriguing.
He asked you a really interesting question on the beach this day. He asked you, hey, what's it like to shape boards? What is it like for you to shape boards? Because he was asking in the sense of like, hey, I rode this thing and you designed it. What's that like? Like, you're dictating my experiences on a wave. What's that like for you?
What's weird about, like, I make myself boards, and I love the idea of making my own boards and riding my own boards. It's almost unfair in a way, because when you build something for yourself, it automatically feels better. Right? It just feels like there's this connection to it that you're like, I'm going to make this thing work no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So that is almost like there's this validation when you see a Jackson, a Kevin Schultz riding your board and going like, dude, this thing is so epic. Like, it like warms my heart.
Here we have some clips of Kevin Schultz, who's here with us tonight. Kevin, you want to stand up and maybe wave, and we can get a Kevin Schultz, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
So it's interesting now because you came up under Al Merrick, and you bugged him and pestered Al Merrick for all sorts of changes to boards and things like that. Rumor is Kevin is pressuring you for a lot of things and kind of coming to you as a shaper. What's it like to be on the other side of that conversation now?
It's great. It's great. I love it. I love the psych and just, the positivity, like fired up, because that's how I am too. Like, I ride something, and if I feel something unique or special, and you immediately start thinking of like how you can make it better, or what you could do different. Like, what would this feel like? So Kevin called me straight up after a couple Cado sessions with some great ideas. I love it. What if we did this? What if we did that?
When you do see clips of Kevin, I mean, what stands out to you, him as one of your team riders?
We both do 360s. That's cool. I like those little.
So, speaking
that's so
of
80s.
If we watch this clip, Kevin started doing this thing where every wave he would do frontside 360s. Wow. And these are looping for a second, but we all watched this at Firewire Surfboards. Our whole team was like, oh, Kevin's up to some interesting things. And then Rob took it up.
I do them too.
So
it's contagious.
What is it about this board, though, that suits these frontside 360s that you guys are doing?
It's just, there's something about the width. I maybe the width throughout the whole board. The tail just feels really, especially in that moment when you want to just like kind of throw the tail up and spin a little 360.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but they're contagious.
It's been very interesting watching you guys take up new types of surfing, depending on what kind of a shape that you're on.
Yeah.
So you're a very interesting case in the surfing world, because one of the most impossible things to do is to make a career as a competitive pro surfer. You did that. Even harder is to make a career as a free surfer who makes a living just surfing. and potentially even harder to make a living as a surfboard shaper. And you've done all three acts, and you haven't just done those three things. You're now also designing fins. And a couple years back, you really fundamentally changed the way that everyone looks at fins when you released the Seaside Quad. It's a very unique quad template. And recently you've launched this fin set that we see on the TV now, the 2+1 fin set that you designed to pair with the Machadocado. When you think about designing boards, when you think about designing fins, what's more exciting to you nowadays? Do you think more about fins or more about surfboards?
That's a great question. I mean, it's really interesting how much I just, like, I went through a phase when I rode thrusters for a long period of time, and if you went from like an AM1 template to an AM2, you're talking about like millimeters of a difference. Mm-hmm. And between a lot of different fins, like I could never really tell the difference. I just didn't have that ability to feel that. Like I'm more of the type of person that likes to get on a board and it'd be like, okay, what are the capabilities? Where can it go and where can't it go? And I'm not thinking about what's causing that, because there's so many elements in play, right? There's just rocker and rail and fins and everything. So it's more exciting to me to create fins that really you're going to feel a difference. And that was like started with the Seaside Quad, was like, this isn't your typical quad. It's like coming from like a fish twin fin template, like a real big keel, and then like, okay, let's make this into a quad with like some little baby keels in the back. And it's like that. I think it feels a lot different than a standard quad. And that's more exciting to me, is like, oh, this is very unique. It's very different, but it's good. Mm-hmm. It gives you a whole different feeling than maybe what you've had before. And exploring those kind of feelings is what I like to, like, that's where I look for in making surfboards and making fins, and like putting those two together, and like the original Cados I was riding as a twin fin with keels, and I thought that was it. I was like, that's how it's gonna work.
You can actually see it in this clip right here when the board flips over in a sec. I think that we can actually see that you have there. You have the keels in it.
So that's riding it as a keel right there. So I had tons of sessions on it and I remember actually telling you, like, I don't know if I even want to put a back fin box in this. Mm-hmm. But then I started riding it as a 2+1, and once I kind of made that transition in my mind, then it kind of unlocked a lot of doors. There was obviously a big difference between keels and a 2+1, or even just a standard thruster set. So I love that idea of unlocking things and opening up your brain to all of a sudden these new feelings and exploring those.
You also have experimented a lot in your past with surfboards that have no fins.
Yeah.
So just all these different ways you can experience sliding on a wave seem to be really compelling for you. What was important to you with the 2+1 fin set, though? Was there something you were specifically going for in designing a 2+1 fin set that you wanted to feel that is different than a thruster specifically?
I think when you look at a lot of the 2+1s, sometimes that trailer fin is really small. It can be like a little nub. Sometimes they can be like not have a lot of base to them. Mm-hmm. They can be kind of tall and skinny. I just kind of I wanted it to feel a little bit more thruster-ish. So the back fin is maybe got a little bit more surface area than other trailing back fins. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to go too far away, because there's something great about having a twin fin feel, right? And there's that speed out of the gates and that explosion, and then being able to push hard and have something back there to step on. And I think that, like, from growing up riding a thruster for a majority of my younger life, you become like a thruster surfer, and in that, I think what, when you have 3 fins back there's just a big sweet spot, and you step on it, and it's like sweet home. You just it feels really good. And then when you start riding a twin fin, you realize, oh, I can't step behind the fins. Like you see photos of guys on thruster, how far back their back foot will go.
Yeah.
Like you're literally locked up against, the traction pad, the kick. And it's like, if you do that on twin fin, like things get weird because you're actually behind the fins. So, creating a fin that goes back there, that like you can go back there, and it still is engaging and giving something back.
Well, there was a time in your career, and I will open it up if we have a question or two from the audience in a second, but there was a time in your career where you would have thought it was pretty crazy to ride a shape like the Machadocado. Now, today, with so much of your surfing on hybrids and fish designs, do you ever find younger kids totally focused on high performance ripping, and do you kind of want to let them know that there's another way, or do you keep that to yourself?
I just keep it to myself, except for my son. I just make him little Cados, mini Cados.
There we go.
Yeah.
I think we do have a question from the audience here. I'm gonna actually pass this back to you. Hang on one sec.
Thank you. So Rob, it seems like your designs are in a constant state of evolution. And I tried the Seaside, and it's probably the fastest board I've ever ridden. How would you compare this board that you've designed to the Seaside in terms of speed, in terms of where you can place it on the face of the wave, with this evolution in process?
Yeah, that's a good question. Speed-wise, I tried to make it feel as fast as the Seaside, but I think no matter what, when you put a fin in the middle, when you have a thruster set up, that's going to slow you down in comparison to a fish or a quad. I just feel like those boards just shoot. There's so much water funneling between. But I don't know. I think I did all right. Like, it feels like it does have a really good burst of speed, and it has some similarities, but it has a tighter arc. There's limitations when you're riding a twin fin or you're riding a quad, as far as like what kind of arcs you can do and where you can place the board. So I think having the Cado with a thruster setup is pretty helpful in that department.
All right, we got another question back here.
Hi, Rob. Soundtrack-wise, music, surfing, intricately connected. If you had to pick a signature song from the Jimmy catalog for this board, what song would it be and why?
If 6 was 9.
Perfect.
Yeah. Fall Mountains. Just don't follow me.
One question right here.
A lot of shapers I know kind of shape for a specific area or wave, but it kind of sounds like you prefer to shape and then try to fit the board and see where it can go. Do you have a preference as to like shaping for a purpose or for a feeling, or just you get stoked on an outline and then you just see where it fits?
Yeah, I mean, I probably am shaping more for California waves. Like, where I live, it's not like we're standing in tubes every day and it's like super rippable. Yeah, I mean, it's super fun and playful, and it is what it is. So I like to just design boards that are easy to ride and float and fly. But I love when I take those boards on trips and then put them in waves that I wouldn't expect them to work. And then when they work in waves like that, that's when you really kind of open your eyes and get surprised, and that's like a great feeling.
All right, everybody, thank you very much for coming out and hanging out with us tonight. Everybody, Rob Machado.